I'm Chris.
I'm Sandy.
And this is Parenting Autism.
Here we go.
Well, here we are, episode 82.
Hello.
Hello.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
We're making it a happy one.
Yeah, we are. As opposed to?
As opposed to an unhappy one. It has been a good day. We had a great church service and got a little R&R this afternoon, and now we are here to just kind of bring people up to speed for what's been happening at the Coulter Hotel the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, Coulter Hotel.
Coulter Hotel. Bryce really doesn't call it that anymore.
No,
but the boy still
funny.
loves hotels.
Yeah.
He doesn't like our house because it's one floor and he likes more floors. But anyway, so since we last talked, we went to visit Bryce's neurologist. And we saw the images of his MRI. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about that today. And then I don't know, I feel kind of led here to talk about a little bit of a deeper topic about healing and my perspective of Bryce being healed, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted us to have a conversation. So we really didn't prep for this.
I'll give you my perspective.
Yeah, I want it to be a real conversation.
It will be.
And I just feel like we're supposed to go there today because I believe so many parents that get this diagnosis for their children and are on this journey, you know, your prayer is that your child will be okay. I'm sure many people pray their child will be healed, but what all does that entail? And I just want to talk about that a little bit more. So
Sure.
But back to the neurologist and
MRI.
the MRI. You want to take that?
I guess I will. So we went to the doctor's office. As you can tell, I was that was a curveball to me.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So we went and he had the images and he asked us some more questions about Bryce and his behaviors just to double check, you know, if anything that we have been seeing or noticing would be related to seizures. And all of our answers must have been correct, that he said, okay, well, we'll just watch and see, or wait and see, you know. We'll come back every year and do EEG. The MRI showed, how should I say it, a much more expanded area of damage than we recently saw, or not previously saw, when he was just, what was he, 7 months old, when he had 9 months old? Yeah. So on his 9-month-old MRI, his stroke was pretty much contained to the occipital lobe, and this MRI showed that it must have spread more even after the 7-month MRI because the area was much larger.
I've thought about that.
In my opinion.
I know. It looked larger to me. And maybe it looked larger because his brain image is larger. Because he was a grade 4, and grade 4 means it's in 2 areas. So it must have gone in there a little bit, but his occipital lobe, it's completely
It was more
covered.
of a circle or oval shape when he was 7 months, and now it looks like the state of California.
I agree. It's much longer. And it was startling to see it. We were both surprised.
We were very surprised.
It was unsettling, and I kind of had to process that for a couple of days, and I know you wanted, you know, you're like, this makes me sad. I want to cry as we're looking at the images. And then I just said, you know, again, it's all perspective, but the larger the injury, the bigger the praise, because Bryce is doing so well. Mm-hmm. And this neurologist, who is new to us, he was surprised to see how much damage was there. And he was also very surprised to see how well Bryce is doing in spite of it. And as he said, I'm really surprised we're not seeing more sharps and spikes. And I'm sure that if he would have slept longer, we would have seen more areas. Mm-hmm. But we're not seeing anything visibly. His development is great. He was testing his gross motor skills and reactions and balance and stuff because that's the area where the damage was. And Bryce does so well in all of those areas. Mm-hmm. He did say, vision-wise, that it is very possible, because we've mentioned before that Bryce struggles with face recognition of people that he even should know. And I thought part of that could be because he doesn't look people in the eye that often. So, you know, he's not going to remember faces the way I would because I look at people's faces. But I'm leaning more that that's probably just a part of his brain that rewired in a different way. Because it had to rewire. That whole area is completely damaged. And that's what makes him such a miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was something else I was going to say about that, but I forgot what it was. But anyway, we came out of that.
Oh, we got the emergency meds. So that was good.
He gave us a nose spray in case something does happen with Bryce to where it's called a rescue spray. So we can spray it in his nose and it'll help calm the seizure or
if we were to see something. Yeah, like he said, hopefully it will collect dust on the shelf, but we have it. So it's like a peace of mind kind of thing that we have.
And I'm so glad that we drove all that way to see the doctor.
Me too.
Because we're contemplating doing a virtual. And I was like, well, can't really see the images on a virtual, so let's just go up there. I just felt like we needed to see him in person.
I agree. It was good. And I felt like he answered, our questions for us. And he's really good about interacting with Bryce while we're there. So it's good for him to see Bryce as well, which couldn't happen with the virtual. So I feel like we've that part should be settled now. We should not be having to drive to Orlando for that again, hopefully, prayerfully, until next February.
I just want to say that for those of you that have to go through this, MRIs and EEGs and all of that,
and seizures.
Don't be afraid to ask for the records when you're at the doctor's office.
Yeah.
Because, if you move in the future, if you need those records for another doctor, it's very good to have them in your possession instead of the doctor's possession, because trying to go back and find records later is difficult. So we right away asked for a copy of his blood work that they did. We asked for a copy of the EEG results, which they had there, and the MRI images we had to order directly from the hospital. So we just reached out to their records department, and within a week they sent us the DVD in the mail, and it has all the images from his MRI on it. So I believe it even comes with the software to view the images.
And you did that online, correct?
No, I did it from the DVD they sent us.
No, I'm sorry. Didn't you order it online?
Yeah, I ordered the disc online.
Yeah, because I called and they just made it really easy and said you can go online and order it. So it wasn't difficult to get.
Right. So we have all that for the future if Bryce needs it for anything or what have you. But I just wanted to say that
I think that's great advice.
The people out there that, you can collect all of your evaluations from speech and OT, put them in a binder. Just put them in a binder. All the blood work, put it in a binder.
We have a whole filing cabinet dedicated to Bryce and his history.
His record from his birth is
insane. It's so thick.
I can't even describe it. It's so thick. If you ever seen one of those big old Bibles in a movie or a TV show that sit on the table, it's about 8 inches high. That's kind of what it looks like.
It really is.
Yeah. So
he's had quite an adventure, to say the least. And when you were saying about for those of you who go through this with EEGs and MRIs, and then I added seizures, I really thought you were going to say, wow, do we feel for you? So that's what I'm going to say. Wow, do we feel for you? because this past 2 months has added more gray hairs to my head and more stress to my body than I have experienced in quite a while. Because it's one thing with the autism. You know, I have learned to embrace and accept that with Bryce and learn how to work with that and all. But seizures, when it's medical like that, it affects me a whole other way.
And I want to say on that, follow your intuition. Women have intuition. And if you think something's going on with your child, by all means, follow through with it. You know, oh, they're staring off in the distance, and I don't know why they're doing that, or you know, they're doing something that's doesn't seem right. Mm-hmm. You got to follow your gut, and because seizures become more common with children as they get older that have autism. And it is in that right temporal lobe that is the most common place for them to have it. Now, the thing that I forgot that I was going to say was that the neurologist said that all of the sharps and spikes that he saw on the EEG were coming from the damaged area of his brain. So this Bryce's particular situation is not autism related yet. I should say yet, because I don't know.
But at this time, it does not have to do with his autism.
Yeah, the activity we're seeing is coming from where he had his stroke. So,
but we were concerned that this new stuff we were seeing was from the autism, because he told us 40% of children diagnosed with autism have seizures, and that's 4 out of 10. That's pretty high statistic. So we feel like we have to just be extra cautious because of Bryce's history. And then because of his autism.
Yeah, and he said that, because I asked that because they mentioned the activity in the right temporal lobe.
Right.
And he said, I said, is it coming from there, or because, you know, autism? And he says, well, it's coming from the area of his damage, which is the occipital lobe and the parietal lobe. And he says it's just going over there. Right. So it's like spiking. It's like a lightning bolt.
Yep, you know? Shooting out in that direction.
Yeah. So it's anyway. That's what it was.
Yep. So that's where we're at on that. And thanks for all the love, prayers, and support that we got during this past couple of months, because it has been quite a ride, and it's been quite a bit. And then we've had some other family situations going on. But before I go on to the other topic, I want to talk about healing. I wanted to bring up something that I think is fabulous and great fun tip for the families that are listening for their kids. Bryce found this app, and I'm not even sure how he found it, but it's called Superbook. And it is, and we may have mentioned it before, but it's come back full circle for us because he watches this a lot now.
Well, I was trying in the beginning of school, kindergarten / first grade, I was trying to get him into some type of Bible curriculum.
Okay.
So Superbook was an app that was Bible related, and it has videos about the stories of the Bible. And at that time, he had some interest in it, but it wasn't like Paw Patrol. It wasn't like, one of his other shows that he was really into. And so we took a break from it. And recently we came back to it, and he's fallen in love with it. So
and so just so the parents know, it's cartoon, and it's got in present time a boy and a girl. His name is Chris. So Chris and Joy are the boy and the girl, and they have a robot named Gizmo. So Bryce loves Gizmo the robot, and he's silly and funny. But what will happen is there's a current story going on, and Chris and Joy need to learn a lesson from it.
In present time.
Usually Chris, right? And then the Superbook will come and take them back to a story in the Bible times, and then they are there with those characters in the Bible, and then they learn that lesson, and then they get to teleport back to the present time and then apply that lesson. And so it's got really great kid-friendly biblical principles there. Now, I will say with Bryce, I get a little, I guess I just said I have to really be conscientious of what he's watching, because with Bible stories, it can trigger a lot of questions for him that maybe it wouldn't trigger for other kids.
Yeah, because he's very literal. So I think that's where you were going.
I was. Sorry, I got some throat issues as normal. But anyway, so like there's one about the final battle of Armageddon, and I'm like, yeah, you have to be 12 for that. I'm just saying that for now. I don't really want to trigger a bunch of questions about that, but he can handle now, like Daniel and the lion. Last year when we took him to Noah's Ark in Kentucky, to the real ark there, that they've reconstructed to be the same size. We talked about that on an episode, but Bryce was very literal, and he was afraid for days that God was going to flood the earth again. So we feel like now he understands enough that some things are real, some things are pretend. The Bible's not pretend, but he can understand that God's promised that it won't happen again. So now he's not afraid that the earth is going to flood. I mean, sometimes he'll kind of want us to reassure him, but I'm just kind of getting at, depends on your child and where they're at. But I'm telling you, it's been great, and it's teaching him about the Bible in ways that we want him to be able to learn. And he's grasping the concepts, and
he talks about
it, and he'll want to watch more of them, and then we'll watch with him because he's got questions. So it gives us a chance to answer those questions for him. He's really into the David and Goliath now. And before, honestly, I wasn't sure how he would handle watching someone get killed, and someone dies, but he understands good guys and bad guys, and and that's reality. That's the world, and we want him to have as many concepts that he can handle at his age right now. So it's really good. I do recommend it. And if I remember, I will put a link to, is there a way to put a link, or is it just an app that they just Google or just look on their phone and do Superbook?
Yeah, they should be able to do Superbook. If you look for it in the App Store, it should come up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just
send us an email.
Yeah, that's true. Just send us an email, and we'll guide you there.
Yep.
But yep. So I wanted to talk about that because I really feel like that's something great to share, and I really want to get back to doing the puppets with him and the fruits of the Spirit, because that was another thing that really helped him learn and understand the Bible and apply those to his life. So Bryce is doing great in that department, and I do want to talk about it a little bit because I've had several listeners that have reached out to us, and they love that. Hold on, here comes Bryce.
Come
yes. Hi, honey.
Can you get my cord, please?
Can I get your cord?
Fast.
Okay. Yes, I'll be right back.
Bryce, you want to say something to the people?
Why don't you talk to them while I get your cord?
Come here.
No? Okay.
No. He's not in the mood for talking at the moment. His percentage.
Number 2.
Well, hey, tell us about your game, Bryce. What are you playing right now?
Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, you like Luigi's Mansion?
Yeah.
What do you like about Luigi's Mansion? Come over here and talk into the microphone.
I like playing.
Yeah?
I like the elevator.
You like elevators, don't you? How many floors is on Luigi's Mansion?
15.
15. What's the scariest floor?
What's the scariest floor is 1.
1?
There's a lot of ghosts at 1.
Oh. Do you start at the bottom and work your way to the top?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the scariest ghost that you've run into?
A goob.
A goob on Luigi's Mansion?
And a hammer.
And a hammer. Okay, those are the scariest ones. Well, thanks for telling us. Anything else you want to say?
No.
No? Okay.
I think that's all.
All right.
All right. Well, you can go play. You're hooked up.
All right.
Bye,
Bye. Can you close the door, please?
Thank you. And there he is.
You never know.
I love that kid.
Okay.
Okay.
Where were you?
I just really kind of don't remember.
We're talking about Superbook.
Yep, we finished up Superbook.
Yep. And
starting to go into some point, but whatever it was, it is what it is.
Yeah. It's terrible to get old.
It is terrible to get old and interrupted. Anyway, so I'm just going to go to...
We'll remember later.
Yeah, if it comes up, that's no big deal. Yeah. But anyway, so I know what I was going to say. So as people are coming on this journey, I just feel like we need to have hope. And I know we want... Oh, I do know what I was going to say, so I'm going to finish this. Sorry, detour. I've had a lot of listeners reach out saying how much they love that we're trying to teach Bryce about the Bible and about Jesus.
Yeah.
And so that's why we share ways that we are trying to teach him. And he is now going to the CF Kids studio with all of the kids now, most Sundays now. He doesn't go into the quiet buddy room, and he wants to be a part of the praise team now.
Yeah.
So that's a new development.
So they have a little stage, and he likes to be on the stage. And I think he gets some comfort in that because he's away from the other people, and he feels safe.
He feels safer on stage than he does in the crowd.
Stage, yes.
I agree.
And if people clap, it's at a safe distance, I guess you could say. And he feels comfortable with that. So before it was like anybody clapped, he was on the floor. You know, it was a meltdown. Mm-hmm. But so we're working through that, and he loves to dance. And
I think that's part of the draw.
That's part of the draw too. So they dance on the stage.
Yeah.
And they sing on the stage.
And his love for music is really growing day by day, week by week.
Yep.
And you and I listen to a wide variety of music. I mean, you know, we grew up in the 80s, so we always like the 80s classics. But we also listen to a lot of Christian music. I do a lot. And then worship music. And Bryce loves that too. And I think it's great because he's a witness in his own way. Like he has asked to have Christian music played, like Hillsong at his occupational therapy to work out to.
His music
and
therapist.
then his music therapist.
And his drum lesson.
His drum lesson he asked for. And then this yesterday when he had his music therapy, he wanted to play You Say by Lauren Daigle. Yes. And Mr. Tom had not heard that before. No. And then he's like, how did I miss this? I'm like, I know, I just got her CD because I'm playing it in the car.
Song.
Yeah, and it's inspiring me because I haven't had inspiration to play the piano in a long time. And when I was younger, I played a lot. My mom can testify to the fact that I worked out my emotions through my piano. So if I was upset and I was stressed about something, she would know. She said I was beating the devil out of the piano because they would hear it in the middle of the night. But that was my stress relief. And I also enjoyed playing with my friends. And I play by ear. I don't really like to hear the music. I mean, I can't read the music that well. I like to hear the music. I don't read it that well. But I've learned to play to where we can sing along and enjoy it. I guess I should say I don't like to play for crowds. I play for me, a small circle. But for Bryce, when he was doing You Say, that is got a great piano lead. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to download the sheet music and I'm going to learn it. And so now I'm playing that. And then I'm excited that we can all play it together. And you even got a chord for the bass, so you can play the bass now. Yeah. So Mr. Tom can play guitar, and you got bass. Bryce has drums. I got piano. I mean, it's just bringing it out of all of us. It's great.
Yeah. There's really little to no guitar in it. So the three of us, I'll be on bass, you on piano, and Bryce will be on the drums. We can play pretty much the whole thing.
I know. And it's just exciting to see him inspiring me, you know, and even you to like play songs we otherwise wouldn't play, and that he's being a testimony to other people, and I love that. So lots of good things going on there.
His main interests right now, I would say, are music and playing music, and his favorite instruments, he said, were drums, piano, and guitar. And then he said after that, I like all the instruments.
He does.
And then his other big interest right now is airplanes and flying in airplanes.
Yes.
And so we have Microsoft Flight Simulator coming.
Yeah.
And I know it's a complicated program, but he seems so interested in it that I think he might put in the work to learn how to fly and read instruments. So
He is advanced he is not an 8-year-old when it comes to planes and instruments. I mean, honestly, he has such a strong desire to learn about all of that. And we've got him scheduled to go up next weekend again through the Young Eagles program at a different airport. And this time he's taking a friend. So we're really excited about that.
And just a reminder, that's free.
Yeah.
For 8 to 18 years old. And they have chapters all over the United States at your local airports. And your child can fly for free. And if they're really interested in flying, and that's why they have the program, is to groom kids to be pilots. Like I got Bryce a flight log book like a regular pilot would have. So going forward, we can log all of his flights, and those hours go toward his pilot's license. So if he ever gets a pilot's license, if he's able to achieve that, these hours will go toward that. So
and he's excited
really cool.
to know he's getting achievements. So it's great. You know, we want to see him.
You want to feed what they're interested in.
That's it. We want him to be happy, and we want him to feel like there's nothing he can't do. I don't want to set him up for failure in any ways. And we kind of talked about that even going back to church and being on the stage, because I guess for him to be able to be a part of that, it's kind of a big deal. Because the other kids work really hard to be able to be selected to be there to lead the music for the other kids. Bryce isn't going to put in 4 hours a week of dedicated work, but he just wants to be up there. But I don't want him to get up there and then he doesn't do well with it, or that people pick on him as well. You know?
I don't want people to pick on him, but I do want him to learn that, you do have to be a certain level to do certain things.
Yeah, so it's it's a opportunity
just like
for
in
teaching.
School recently, right? We're in 2nd grade now, so we learned about the President of the United States and that he lives in the White House in Washington, D.C., and Bryce is like, well, how many floors is that? And so we found out that it's 6 floors, even though it only looks like 2 or 3 from the outside. I guess it has some floors under the ground. And he says, well, what do you get to do when you're President of the United States? So we talked about it. So he's like, oh, yeah. And he's like, what kind of car can I drive? And I said, well, they'll be taking you around in a limo, like a limousine. And he's like, well, what's a limousine? So I had to describe it. And then he's like, well, I want to be president of the United States, so I can do all these things. And, and then I'll learn how to fly. And
you get your own plane if you're the president of the United States.
He likes helping people. And, so it's good for him to have aspirations.
Absolutely. Yeah. No different than many kids who are 8 years old and trying to figure out what they want to do when they grow up.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
I do too. Yeah. And we feed it. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Healing was what I was going to talk about too. I don't even know the segue there.
The big H.
The big H. I will tell you where this came up. It's come up before, trust me. But where it's recently come up to where I feel like I want to share this with our audience is, I know there are a lot of people that listen to us on this podcast about our journey, and they're looking for the hope. We're further along than they've been on this journey, and a lot of them are just starting. So their children are 2, 3, 4, 5. And boy, do we remember those years. And I think they were a little more brutal than what we got going on now. Everything's difficult in its own way, but
it's hard to find hope in the
children can't comprehend at all, and all the delays are so evident. It's discouraging. It's saddening, disheartening, frustrating. So many things, and I think people naturally say, I just want a normal kid, or I just want them to be okay, or I don't want them to do those things. I don't want people looking at us. I don't want them
to be bullied.
Yeah, a lot of different things go through your mind, and you want God to heal him. Well, I get that. I think it's even hard for me to put in words. I'm going to really pray that God will help me share this in the right way. I have a dear friend who has been praying for God to be healed for many years. And I love that she is praying over him. I just think that sometimes it's important to know that we have to pray for God's will and not just that God will heal. Because healing happens in many different ways. Sometimes God may do a miraculous healing like he did with Bryce with his brain. And I definitely classify that as miraculous healing. Yeah. We just looked at his MRI, and one complete lobe of his brain has been damaged. I mean, there's nothing left of it. Yeah. And God miraculously rewired his brain and healed him to a point that, yes, he may have developmental delays, but not to the point that it's hindering him from learning and living a happy life. Right. That is an extremely large answer to prayer.
And we were
healing.
Telling Bryce about what miracles are. He's learning that right now, what a miracle is. And he's like, how am I a miracle? And I said, well, whenever doctors can't heal you and you get healed and they don't know how it happened, or that it's just amazing and almost impossible, that's a miracle, and so he's getting to know that term right now. And I have my own testimony with my feet, so I don't even know if I've mentioned it on the show before, but when I was in my early 20s, I went on a ski trip and Killington, Vermont. I remember it. I was coming down the hill. It was a long day of skiing and my feet started to hurt and I didn't know why. So I quit skiing for the day and I ended up quit skiing for the rest of the trip. And after I got home, I was still in pain and the pain just lasted and lasted. So I ended up going to the foot doctor and he's like, oh, you got plantar fasciitis. Here's some shoe inserts that'll help you. Have a nice day. And, this has been going on for over 25 years. So I've been to foot doctor after foot doctor after foot doctor, and none of them have been able to give me any relief from my feet. The only time that I've ever felt relief was when they gave me an injection in my ankle, I think, to numb my foot for a procedure that they were doing to try to alleviate my pain. So when they injected the anesthesia into my foot, the pain was gone and I had happy feet. It was one of the best days of my life. But as soon as that wore off, pain came back. So here I am. I have this pain, and I don't know why I have this pain. Right. I don't know why the doctors haven't been able to do anything. And I pray for God to take the pain from me. But when I pray, I also know that if it's not God's will to take the pain away, that he will not take it away. Like he has allowed me to have this pain for a reason. Right. And I don't know that reason. Was it because he's preventing me from getting a job that's on my feet all day that would have been catastrophic for me? Because of my pain, has it prevented me from doing something else that would not have been good for me? I have no idea, and I may not know until I get to heaven. I may not know those reasons. And so I have the thorn in the flesh here on the earth, and I can't explain it. God's thoughts are higher than our thoughts. Right. It says it in the Bible. He knows the future. We don't. And I just have to rest in that. I have to know that all of this is for a purpose. And that's it.
Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I really believe that we've got our healing with Bryce from the seizures. And I believe that I am believing God for this and claiming, that Bryce will continue to be protected from seizures, because I see that he is being protected from them. Medical doctors are seeing that Bryce is being protected from seizures.
Yeah.
Things that should be happening are not happening. That's God's hand, and that's God's healing. Now, God has also chosen to create Bryce with autism.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not my place to not accept that that's how God chose to create Bryce.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really important that I do embrace that and all that God wants to bring through this. And this podcast is definitely one of those things that I know He has called us to do through this to help so many other families.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like, when it was said to me a couple of weeks ago, you just have to see it. And if you see it and believe it, it'll happen. And then someone gave me a video that showed somebody else that their child got healed. So I put the video in, and it was the very first thing that was said on there was the mother told me that God told her that there was to reach out because there was going to be healing. And then I stopped her right there, and I said to you, because you're like, what are you watching? I saw someone gave this to me. There's the key. God spoke to her and said, I want you to take your child. It's going to be healed. I don't need to watch the rest. God has not told me that. You know what God's told me? Take Bryce. Actually, God used someone to speak to me about Bryce before he was diagnosed. Said they had a dream. I've talked about this before. And she said, I am just delivering you a message. God has plans for Bryce that you don't have for him.
Mm-hmm.
You need to accept those plans because God is going to use him. Another person saw him in the grocery store with me and said, Bryce is anointed. I see it all over him.
Yeah.
And I was like,
People
wow.
have gifts.
And I'm telling you that Bryce has been anointed. He's been anointed by God, and he's been given autism to help other people. And if we didn't share that, then that would be wrong. And if we were so busy praying and praying for healing that may not be God's will, then that would be wrong. And I'm not saying that God hasn't healed other people that have had it.
People
and
do get
that's
healed.
Wonderful.
Yes. People do lose their diagnosis. People
that the diagnosis no longer fits them.
Yeah.
They may have received it, but now they don't have it. It just because you pray for it and it doesn't happen doesn't mean that you don't have proper faith.
Listen, we've all heard of people who've been prayed over that had cancer. They go in to get the surgery and they can't find the cancer. Right. So yes, God is in the miracle business. He's in the healing business, and he chooses who is healed and who he's not done with yet in that category.
And sometimes it's not his will to do that healing. And so I really just want to encourage anybody that maybe feels it's their lack of faith that is the reason why their child isn't being healed. I don't believe that because it's whatever God's plan is. And if we can change our mind shift to be according to your will, which is what the Bible says, we should always be praying with thanksgiving for whatever his answer is and according to your will. I remember my mom always would say, Lord willing, and then she'd proceed with whatever it was. Lord willing, we're going to do this next week. Lord willing. And you know what? That's really it. Whatever God's will is, if it's God's will, I want it to happen. If it's not God's will, I don't want it to happen. It's kind of like the Garth Brooks song, Unanswered Prayers. And it talks about how he runs into the girl that he liked when he was younger, but that's not who he was supposed to be with because now he's with his wife who he loves so much. But had God answered the prayer that he originally said, he wouldn't be in the life that he was in at that time. He wouldn't be with the person he was supposed to be with. And I believe that's it. Sometimes we have these prayers, like we've prayed over your feet so many times, and God hasn't answered that. Does that mean because we lack faith, he hasn't healed you? No, we're just praying for his will. And if it's his will, then he will do it. And he will, but he must be allowing it to happen for another reason. And God he's the one that sees the big picture, and we can't see it all.
Once you accept that, then you can move forward.
Yes.
A lot of times you're so focused on the diagnosis or the problem that you can't get past it. If you accept that it's happening, then your eyes will be opened for what else can be done. You know, where do you go from there?
What can come from it?
Right.
What good can come from it? Because there really can be good that can. God wouldn't allow it if there wasn't a reason for it.
Right. Listen,
what is that reason and
purpose? If Bryce
purpose?
wasn't diagnosed with autism, you and I would not be sitting here doing this podcast.
No. And our lives would be completely different if Bryce wasn't diagnosed with autism. But yet, I really love the life that we have. You know, that's what we know.
Yeah.
So maybe we don't know any different, but I love him. When he talks, the way he says things, it melts my heart.
Yeah, he has a big heart.
He's so caring, and I just wouldn't change anything about him, but I've had to learn to accept and embrace this journey, you know, and also I've learned to be thankful and to trust God. And our family's going through some situations now that, believe me, I would love God to reach down his hand and heal some people right now that are in a lot of pain.
Yep.
But I have to trust him.
Yep. Yep. We have to put it in his hands. It's like when Bryce had his stroke, I had to turn it over to God. First I relied on me. What can I do? What can I do? Well, I couldn't do anything. It was in the doctor's hands. Bryce was under the doctor's care. And I had said, okay, God, you have this. I don't. You know, I was so torn and upset, and there was nothing I could do but get on my knees and turn it over to God and have God work through the doctors. And God, you know, I so much wanted to fast forward 5 years. That's what I kept saying. If I could fast forward 5 years from now, I just want to see where we would all be at.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it. But that's, you know, it's a journey. Life is a journey. There's things that happen in life that we can't control, and we just have to know that there's a purpose.
Yeah, that's it. And there's a song by Mercy Me called Even If, and my sister-in-law sent it to me the other day, you know, because, again, it was in context to what our family's going through, but God can heal, and we know that. And I know he's able, and I know he can, but even if he doesn't, you know, it's okay. He, you know, if we didn't have faith, I don't know how we'd get through this, but that's why we have hope in Christ. That's why we know that we have a Bible that has proven true through the test of time that he brings purpose out of pain.
Yeah.
And we just have to look for that purpose. And
it is comforting knowing that the people that are going through this know the Lord.
yes,
You know, we know where they're going in the end. And
We do.
It is a better place, and it will be without pain. And
Right.
there will be healing.
we have that
you know,
promise of
so,
complete healing
yeah.
when we go to heaven. But on earth, we don't always get the healing on earth
Right.
that we wish everybody could have.
Yes.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And it is. It has to be okay. And again, I just, you know, I had to tell myself, you know, I can't just, it's not like you can just make a wish and then if you believe it with all your heart, it's going to happen. It's just, honestly, it's not how it works.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
God's capable. Absolutely. Do I believe he's capable? 100%.
Yeah.
But I would be foolish if I thought that every time that I just forced myself to see it and believe it, that it would happen, and then it didn't. Can you
Right.
imagine the disappointment that I would have, and I could lose my faith in that
Yeah.
way? And I don't want people to lose their faith in that way.
Yeah.
But we just trust God for his will. And so that's really what I felt led to share, just for our listeners, because I think our audience can certainly relate
I think
to
it's-
wanting to see God answer prayers that maybe aren't getting answered the way they wanted them to be answered, but he's still answering them in his own ways for what he knows is best for us.
It's a good point, and it's a good perspective.
That's
I totally agree.
Thank you, baby. All right, I had to get through that, but now let's go to something that doesn't make me cry. It's a 5-star review that we got.
Yay.
So we got, thank you, Jess Jocho. And it says, this podcast has helped me immensely in my autism journey. It began when my 3-year-old was diagnosed with autism in June 2021. Oh man, this journey is so difficult. There are lots of tears and both triumphs and sadness, and Sandy and Chris were there for me from the beginning. I'm so thankful that they share their love and experiences with Bryce. They all give me hope as I navigate this autism journey. Thank you for all you do for our community.
And you don't know what those reviews mean to us. I mean, we're sitting here talking through a microphone, and if we don't hear from you guys, we don't know if we're being heard. We don't know if we're doing any good.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know what impact we're having. So when somebody leaves a review like that, it is so uplifting for us. You know, I forward them on to Sandy, and then we talk joyfully about all of them. And it's really awesome. And speaking of reviews, I mean, not everyone knows how to leave a review. So I'm going to walk us through how to do it.
I think that's great.
So I have an iPhone, so I don't know exactly how it works on an Android, but I can tell you on this show how it works from an iPhone. So you go, since you're listening to the podcast right now, you go into the podcast app, and what I do is I tap library at the bottom. There's a symbol for library, and then in your library of podcasts, you'll see Parenting Autism. You tap on Parenting Autism, and I'm doing this as I'm going through with you here. And so you'll see our logo at the top and the episode that you're currently listening to, and then you scroll down and you'll see some previous episodes, and you keep scrolling until you see the ratings and reviews section. So there's a couple of different things you can do here. You'll see the latest review that this person just left us. And then it says right under ratings and reviews, we have a 4.9 star rating. And it says tap to rate. So there's the 5 stars there. 5 being, of course, the best and 1 being the least. And if you just want to leave a star review, you can even do that. You can just tap the 5 star and it will just leave a 5-star review for us without comments. You don't have to write any comments. If you're an introvert like me, you know, that might be something.
Or it doesn't have to be long.
Well, I'm just getting to that. Underneath the tap to rate is a spot that says write a review. So if you tap that, that'll take you to another screen. So you can tap your star there, and then underneath that, you will type your review, how the show has helped you, or, you know, what you get out of the show, and you hit the send button, and that will, that'll submit that to Apple. And I think they have a review period. I don't think it goes live right away, but they look at it and then it gets published. So that's how you leave a review on iTunes, Apple iTunes, is through your phone, through the podcast app. I think if you're listening on your desktop, I think there's also a way to leave a review if you go to the iTunes store and then search for our podcast, Parenting Autism Podcast. And then once you get to the podcast, underneath the logo on the upper left, it'll say write a review. I think there's a button there. And then
what if they leave it on a different format?
That's fine too. I mean, if you're listening on Spotify or Google,
because there's so many ways you can find podcasts now.
Whatever platform that you use, you can leave a review there.
On any platform, right?
We want people to know that we're out there for them, you know, and so that's a great way to let people know. And there's also, if you go into the episode that you're listening to right now on Apple, on your phone, so you'll have the episode up on your phone, just the episode by itself with the play button and the fast forward and the rewind. If you hit the 3 dots in the lower right corner, there is a share button. So if you know somebody that's, if you're part of a group on Facebook, you can probably share it to the group. If you have a personal friend that has somebody with autism and you want to share it with them, you tap that share button and you can text the episode to that person or share it in a group or through Messenger. So that's another way to share. But, that it helps us know the job that we're doing, and it also spreads the word for other people to find us at the same time.
Yes, that would be wonderful.
So with that, we can wrap it up for this episode. We're just thankful that Bryce still doesn't have to be on medicine, and that we just keep an eye on it, and that we're done with the neurologist for now. We can we can close the book on that for now, and we'll move forward. And this coming weekend, he has another flight. I think we talked about that, so that'll be exciting to talk about.
Yeah, we'll mention that again next time we record.
And we have another air show coming up that we're going to in a few weeks.
There's an aviation theme in our lives right now.
Oh yeah,
but it's fun.
It's fun.
Captain Bryce.
All right, guys, we'll see you talk to you on the next episode.
Okay, sounds
Thanks
good.
for listening.
Bye.
Bye.